the sentiment about this disconnect is mutual, I believe. But in general, can you tell us a little bit more in detail how were the 2018 events in Armenia perceived in Georgia, and how did you personally view them?
If you let me, I just want to react on your statement about the Western education. I've been teaching in Kazakhstan, and they have the program called Balashak. It's very popular. They send people to the West, and if you check the list, the top 10 are like Yale, Harvard. I mean, nothing related to Russia, but these people are still an inherent part of the Kazakh political culture. So, and on the other hand, we have Georgians who do not consider themselves as an internal part of the domestic Georgian political culture. They perceive themselves as a part of the Western European political culture. This is totally different. And I have heard so many times they arguing that they belong to the true home, and this is Brussels, Europe, and the West. This is very important. And one more thing, I had an interview for my article with former high position politician from Armenia who said that the difference between me and some of my colleagues in Georgia that I am pro-Western, he said, like totally pro-Western, but I am not a fanatic. That is the difference. It's very important to understand why there is this connection. Because Georgian who got education in the West, for him or her, the West is the world. For Armenians, Armenia remains the world, And this is also one very interesting issue of our identity and the way Georgians frequently think. This is just briefly.
Can you extend that for one more thing? Is Georgia the world for Georgians?
You know what? You will never ever. I mean, if you speak with Armenians, I'm just working on this article called Pro-Western Armenia, Ideology and Reality.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have never heard any Armenians saying, like serious scholars, that Armenia is pro-Russian or pro-Western. They say Armenia is pro-Armenian.
Mm-hmm.
We are doing what we need. In Georgia, you will never hear pro-Georgian. It's either pro-Western or pro-Russian. It's very interesting. I mean, this is the narrative. You cannot be pro-Georgian. Pro-Georgian means pro-Western by default if you want to be a good, and pro-Russian to be a bad.
There's such an interesting discussion here because both Hovik and I think that a lot of the Armenian political spectrum is either pro-Russian or pro-Western. We think that they're centric. They need to be more pro-Armenian, and you're saying that we are like that, and yet, so the perception is doesn't match from inside and outside a little bit.
Well, I think if for you some actors in Armenia pro-Western, believe me, you can double them, and this will be in both ways.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in Georgia, I think it's much more dramatic. Okay, so let's move to the RIAC. We just finished book chapter for Columbia University about this. We were comparing the Rose Revolution and what we call Velvet Revolution 2018, not the colored one. So what was the reaction? It were not actually my words. I relied heavily on the words of the prominent Georgian scholar, Gia Nodia. Maybe you have heard him. He actively writes for democracy articles. He's a very prominent Georgian scholar who just wrote that a revolution happened just a few hundred kilometers far from Tbilisi, and no one in Georgia knows what are the reasons and what are the results. And it's just very obvious to me because as someone who taught at Tbilisi State University, I just tried to check out who is actually studying Armenia at the leading Georgian university. No one, zero. I mean, simply no one. If you ask yourself, do you know any Georgian scholar who is studying South Caucasus? Not the post-Soviet space like Russia, but South Caucasus, meaning that travels to Yerevan, Baku, Tbilisi, zero.
Interesting.
Who is a Georgian who knows Armenian? Not Armenian who knows who goes, but Georgia, zero. I mean, I conducted so many, just no one. That is why, for me, it's obvious that not only elites who are detached, because for them, as I said, Armenia, before the recent events, was, in quotes, I don't want to insult anyone, Armenia was backyard of Russia. But once again, according to their approach, we can call Georgia backyard of the West. But For them, Georgia is like front line of democracy, but Armenia is the backyard of Russia. Okay, I understand these people because their political interest, their political income comes from the West. But it's also dramatic that scholars do not know what's happening in Yerevan. And that's why I said that there's total discontent. I mean, people didn't know what was happening. And if you watch Georgian TV, obviously they are like pro-government, or what they call pro-government, oppositional. Pro-governmental channels are usually like, we will work with those who are in charge. That's all. We vote for the elections, recognition of this election, and then pragmatism. We cannot just rely on, on recognition of elections. But oppositional channels, they openly said, I mean, that they support Nikol Pashinyan because this is a pro-Western person. They made parallels with Mikhail Saakashvili, and that he will come to power, overthrow this dirty, outdated, retrograde pro-Russian political powers. And even Saakashvili, I remember, commented that he is ready to visit Yerevan and help Armenia to build new, modern, pro-Western country. But as soon as Nikol Pashinyan stated that Russia is still the strategic part of Armenia, the talks finished. That was like 1 month honeymoon between Armenian and Georgian political elites, and that's all. No more interest. I mean, even if you check Georgian TV channels, even during the war, the second Nagorno-Karabakh or Artsakh war, as you wish, the news was in the end. Just for example, Ukrainian war is almost the first or the second information, even though people are tired already, no one expects nothing. War between Azerbaijan and Armenia was somewhere like
in the distance.
By the end of the day. Yes, yes.
It's interesting. Yeah, I have a lot of questions and thoughts about it because I thought this dichotomy between the West and pro-Russian, being pro-Russian and pro-Western was pretty strong in Armenia. But you're saying that is actually very acute in Georgia. And the previous guest that we had a conversation about this, David Archil, also said basically it's a very big conflict of identity. But in general,
hope you enjoyed this clip from our podcast. Click on the link to listen to the entire episode. And remember, your support helps us get the word out. So please donate to us at podcasts.groon.org or scan the barcode on your screen. Please like our videos, subscribe to our channel, and share our content with your network. Thanks in advance.